Today I'm going to show you how you can make mouth-watering chocolate mochi filled with melty ganache, so stick around. I came up with the idea for these while working on my butter mochi, so the process for making the mochi is similar, except I add a bunch of cocoa powder along with the mochi flour. Then it's just a matter of melting some chocolate with cream and butter to make the filling. Then you just wrap the ganache in a thin layer of chocolate-infused mochi, and you end up with these mouth-watering Japanese-style truffles that are soft and chewy on the outside and melt in your mouth like butter on the inside. The process isn't nearly as difficult as it looks, so let's start with a look at our ingredients. For the mochi, I'm using 100 grams of mochi flour, 90 grams of sugar, 20 grams of cocoa powder, and some more for dusting, 45 grams of butter, and 1 cup of milk. For the ganache, I've got 170 grams of dark chocolate. I'm using Valorona's Equatorial Noir, 40 grams of butter, and 1/3 cup of heavy cream. To make the ganache, I've got the chocolate in a microwave-safe bowl, and I'm gonna add the butter and the cream. Then we're gonna pop this in the microwave at 600 watts for a minute and a half. If you can't adjust the wattage of your microwave, this may take less time. Once the chocolate is mostly melted, I'm gonna take the bowl out of the microwave and let it sit for about 30 seconds to allow the residual heat to melt any remaining bits of chocolate. Then you want to stir it all together until it's smooth and evenly combined, like this. Now you can cover it and pop it in the fridge for about 4 hours or until it's fully set. For the mochi, you want to start by folding some parchment paper to line a square 5-inch pan. This isn't necessary, but molding the mochi makes it a lot easier to divide into even-sized pieces. If you don't have parchment paper, you can also just butter the pan. Once I've got the paper folded to fit the pan, I like to cut slits into all 4 corners, which makes it a lot easier to fit into the pan. Now you can just drop it in, and we're good to go. To make the mochi, I'm adding the mochi flour, cocoa powder, and sugar to a bowl, and I'm gonna give that a whisk to distribute the ingredients evenly. Then I'm gonna add the milk a little bit at a time, whisking between each addition. This prevents the flour from forming dry lumps, which will leave pockets of flour in your finished mochi. Once you have a smooth mixture like this, you can add any remaining milk and whisk it all together. Now we need to pop this into the microwave, and I'm first gonna set it at 600 watts for 2.5 minutes. The idea here is to start to thicken the mochi, but it should still be liquidy. Then I'm gonna break up any clumps with the whisk, and then I'm gonna add the butter. Next, you want to whisk the butter into the mixture while breaking up any chunks of mochi that have already solidified. It's okay if you still have some small lumps, but your mixture should end up looking something like this. Now we need to pop this back into the microwave at 600 watts for another 3.5 minutes. When it comes out, the chocolate mochi should be mostly set like this. To finish this off, I'm gonna use a firm spatula or a wet wooden paddle to knead the mochi. This makes it smooth and elastic, but be careful not to get it onto your hands because it's extremely hot and sticky. Once it's shiny and elastic like this, you want to get the mochi into our mold while it's still hot. Just drop it in and then spread it to all 4 corners so it's roughly the same thickness throughout. This doesn't need to be perfect, but you do want to distribute it pretty evenly so we're able to split it up into equal-sized pieces when we make our chocolate mochi. Now we're gonna let the mochi cool down to room temperature while we wait for the ganache to set. Before we stuff the mochi, I want to take a moment to send a special thank you to my awesome supporters who helped to make this video. If you're learning something new from my recipes and want to help, hit the link in the description down below to see how you can pitch in. Okay, our mochi has cooled and the ganache has set, so I'm gonna unmold the mochi and then cut it into quarters in both directions so I have a total of 16 evenly sized squares. Honestly, these cubes of chocolate mochi are like little no-bake brownies and they're delicious on their own, but they're about to get a whole lot better. Next, I'm gonna prepare a bowl with some cocoa powder. Then we're gonna get the ganache out of the fridge. As you can see, it's nice and firm, which is gonna let us use a round spoon or a melon baller to scoop out spheres of ganache. You'll want to try and avoid touching it with your hands because it melts really easily. Now I'm gonna take a square of mochi and press it out with my thumbs until it's relatively flat. But be careful not to get it too thin or it's gonna tear when you stuff it. Stick the ball of chocolate into the center of the mochi and then you can wrap it up. You can kind of pinch the seams together to get the wrapper to seal shut. Then you can use your hands to give it a nice round shape. Next, you want to roll the chocolate mochi in the cocoa powder to keep it from sticking. Okay, let's do that with another one. Flatten out the mochi, scoop a ball of ganache, drop the chocolate into the middle of the mochi and then wrap and seal it around the filling. Give it a nice shape, and then roll it around in the cocoa powder to coat. It might be easiest to give it its final shape once it's coated with the cocoa powder because it won't stick to your hands. Now you just need to repeat this a few more times and our chocolate ganache stuffed mochi is done. At room temperature, the filling is very soft, so you can store them in a cool room for about a day. But if you're going to be keeping them for longer, be sure to put them in the fridge. They get a lot firmer in the fridge, which is also a fun texture, but you can just pop them in the microwave for a few seconds to make them soft again. I went with a dark chocolate filling today, but you can make the ganache with milk chocolate or white chocolate, and you can also infuse it with flavorings like orange liqueur or raspberry jam, so I hope you'll give this a try. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more like it, you can let me know by giving this a big thumbs up and by sharing it with all your friends that love mochi. Alright, I think I'm gonna go pull a double shot of espresso to have with this chocolate mochi, but I'll catch you in the next one.